It's not real, right? I mean, the point of what we're doing is
nobody's
nobody's
actually
actually going to get killed.
The world does not run how you think it is.
Who are you?
Who are you, Helen Webb?
Good combat scene with Keira in the first episode, where it goes on for quite a while, and then Ben comes in with a shotgun and just ends it, and you're like, oh,
Right.
Hello, darling.
Intense violence punctuated with humour, which is
With humour, and it's so difficult to do.
And it starts with me, like, on the phone pretending that I'm with the kid, and I'm sort of telling the kid off when somebody's about to try and kill me on the phone. I love that too. Like, so that sort of playing with all of those, you know, things. He comes in and shoots somebody's head off, and then it's like, hello, darling. And you're like, oh, God. It's a very, you know, I love the kind of genre crossing of it. It sits in a very interesting place, I felt.
The f***ing shotgun?
Yes, it's all I had on me.
It was fun to do. We didn't have a lot of time to do the fight sequences.
You really didn't have a... You did that fight sequence in a day.
In a day.
The one that you've just been talking about.
Yeah, and that's really not a lot of time to shoot any. And we did it in a real location. So normally you do a fight sequence and you do it on a set and you can move the walls around to kind of, you know, there's just a way of doing it, and we didn't have any of those ways. So it was definitely a challenge doing it in the time and the places that we were trying to do it in. But we had an amazing stunt team, and
Amazing,
yeah, and they were properly brilliant, and so the training and everything for it was amazing. But they definitely were challenging to shoot.
Yeah. And the camera.
Yes, and the camera team.
Because
It
it's
wasn't
difficult to shoot that stuff.
Yeah, because you have to.
It's
The
so
whole point of
precise,
it is
yeah.
that it's not real, right? I mean, the point
No
of what we're
one's-
doing is
no one's
nobody's
actually
nobody's actually going to get killed. But that does require the camera to be in the correct position, which again is easier on a set if you can take a wall out. But if you can't take the wall out and you're in a very confined space, it's like how
harder
can
than
we?
you'd think.
It's quite tricky.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
quite tricky.
I wrote it on a whim, really. I started on Boxing Day, so very Christmassy, and I finished it on New Year's Day, the first episode. So it was like a little kind of writing sprint just in the holidays. Like, I was sort of just writing it for fun, really, but I'd also been inspired. Like, I wanted to do something quite spy-y, and I had read sort of... I always think ideas come from... It's not usually like one big sort of lightning bolt moment. It's usually like an accumulation of different ideas or things that you've seen. So at that point, obviously apart from it was Christmas, I'd read this thing, this woman had written this article about her partner had died, and they'd been together for a number of years, and she was mourning the loss of the man that she loved. But their thing was that they'd been having an affair, so he was married, so she was like, she couldn't tell anyone, she had to sort of mourn in secret. And then it's like little thing, like I'd been in London over Christmas, and I'd been staying in this hotel, and I'd been standing on the balcony looking at like the Shard all lit up like red and green and Christmassy. I was like, that's a cool image, and like take that, and basically shoved all these different ideas into one kind of sort of mad writing sprint, and came out the other end with this sort of this.
This is much bigger than we thought it was.
I read the script and I just thought, oof, that's fun.
It feels like Joe, the writer, has taken the characters you expect to see in that framework or setting and subverted them and given the whole new, refreshing life.
I think the fact that, yes, it's your spy thriller, and it's got that kind of darkness, that sort of slightly noir quality that you want from a spy thriller, but it's also faintly ridiculous, which I really, really enjoyed about it.
Joe, it just feels like he's written something very new here. It's a very high-octane, brilliantly funny thriller. Genuinely, I went up to the casting director and I said, who are you going to get to play these people? Because they were like, this must be a dream for you to... Who on earth is going to play that? I mean, they're this. Like, just so unbelievably gripping and funny, electrifying, breathtaking scenes.
Try not to say half of your old name before introducing yourself. That's probably Spycraft 101.
You're sort of caught by the emotions and the tenderness of like some scenes, and they're just beautifully done. And then the next minute you're just laughing guiltily because you're like, oh man, we shouldn't be laughing at this, but you are, and it's great. You know, I think that's the sign of a good script, original script. Yeah.
I think it was sort of playing with that humour and the fact that it kind of sends up the genre, but it also has a depth and a seriousness that can kind of still exist within it.
Yeah.
Which was kind of fun to explore.
Yeah.
I left something up there.
There's a saying about returning to the scene of a crime. Is it a good thing to do or not?
Oh, that was very profound.
I love setting stuff at Christmas. I think you should have a good reason not to set something at Christmas. I've always been slightly obsessive about Christmas films or Christmas TV specials or whatever. Like I remember as a kid watching like the ER Christmas special or whatever. And it was always just like, oh, it's like the show you love, but something slightly heightened about the season. Everyone's slightly manic. There's a lot of pressure, but it's also it's quite a cinematic time with the lights and the darkness and all of that. And there's a sort of inbuilt, invisible ticking clock that everyone is adhering to as well. Everyone is working up towards this like day that they have to either buy presents for or like sort out, where they're going to be or whatever, all that stuff. So I sort of think it kind of gives, I don't know, it's just a bit of flavouring to whatever you're doing.
Anything you want to tell me?
No?
Actually, I have to say, all my favourite scenes were the scenes with Keira. Like, I enjoyed them so much and I looked forward to them so much. And it was usually just us sat in a car.
Yeah. We were always sat in the
nattering.
car. Yeah, sort of.
Never really looking at each other, but
No.
sort of, nonetheless, sort of connected.
Connected, but being sort of vaguely pithy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, I always felt that was where the heart of the show lay. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Sort of feel the stuff that's text and then subtextual. If the writing is really good, usually you just have to get the words in the right order and just say them with the right punctuation and the right. It kind of just let the words sort of pour, and then everything's kept. But that's what I love about all the stuff that you've done in this. And I'm sorry that you're just going to be giving all this, but but I think Andrew's performance in this.
Come on,
I'm sorry. I'm going to
sorry.
I'm going to say it.
He's wonderful.
I'm gonna say, but does that so well. He sort of has the right level of. He sort of delivers the lines so perfectly that you capture all the sort of levels of what's going on. It's you did really well, but I'm saying it's a good script.
Yeah.
So you
very. Exactly that. It is a very good. It was a gift, really. The script.
Yeah, but I said that before anybody came in, so you just. Oh, well, that's genuine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Not a single rehearsal.
No, we met and we chatted.
We did chat a bit.
We did chat.
But we didn't rehearse a single thing.
No, we didn't rehearse a single thing. No.
Not one.
No.
No. Yeah. It's a risk, but
It's definitely a risk.
yeah.
But I mean, I think we were lucky in that we were lucky. I think we were lucky. I think we working the similarity in our kind of energies at work, and I think that was lucky. But I think it's kind of luck, really.
Yeah.
Which makes it exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got a warm heart and blood on your hands. And that's not a good combination.
It was Untitled Spy Thriller. Well, actually, we came to think, we were like, what are we going to call it? We've got to find a name for it, got to find a thing. And I was trying to think of it. My partner, she'd been out the night before, and so she was pretty hungover. And I chatted to her, I was like, where'd you go last night? And she's like, I just went down to that pub down the road called have you been there? It's called the Black Dove. And I was like, that's it. So that's the name of the show. So yeah, I stole it from a bar.